guys, welcome back to my channel Salesforce 2. So today we are going to learn that how we can implement before update scenario. So like this will be the scenario for today's video. Whenever the rating field of account record will get updated to hot and is available checkbox is true, then we need to update the account number value to 1020, else it will be updated to 3040. That's all. So let's get started with the video. So these are the two triggers like we have written yesterday. One is for before insert, and inside that what we are doing, we are updating the rating field on account object based on some conditions. What are the conditions? If the is available checkbox is true, then update the rating field to warm, and otherwise update the rating field to hot. So this is getting called when we are before inserting event, because you can see when before insert trigger is getting called, so we are calling this method update rating and we are passing the record which are getting inserted into database. So that's why this is called. And apart from that, the second method which we have written is for after insert. So what this is doing, this trigger, like when the after insert events got executed, so our trigger is calling insert related contact of account trigger handler class. Already know that we want to call another methods for before update and after update. So for that, what you have to do, first of all, the first task is to pass the trigger event name inside the method in the trigger method. So let's pass before update and after update. So now our this trigger account trigger will get called whenever some before update or after update operation will be done on account object record. Okay. So now let's differentiate it. So this is the section if block we have created for is insert. So now what we are going to do, we are going to write a trigger on events of update, whether it's a before update or after update. So what I will do, after this if, you can see this if is getting ended here, so it means that whatever the if insert operation will done, it will get handled inside it. So let's come out of it and create another if block, and here I will check whether the trigger is getting executed for update or not. So let's make it trigger dot is update and inside. So this is the context variable like we have already seen yesterday. If I show you, so is update context variable, what does it do? It returns true if the trigger was fired due to an update operation. Okay, so this particular method, like this particular context variable will get called whenever our trigger will get executed on an update operation. Either it can be before update or after update, but I want to check also, I want to also differentiate on the basis of before and after update. So what I have to do, I have to come inside this if block, then mention if trigger dot is before. Okay, so what it will do, if our before update event will get called, so whatever the code you will mention inside this if block, it will get executed whenever any kind of update operations will get performed on our account as object. So this block will get executed, and if you make it as a blank, so it will get called for sure because we have passed this events. But if you don't make any logic inside it, so it will do nothing because we haven't mentioned it. So that's why we are mentioning trigger dot else. Suppose if I'm making it trigger dot is after. Okay, now what this means, the first block means that it will get executed when before update will happen, and it will get update when after update will happen. But still these things do nothing because we have just differentiated the block. For us to perform any operations, we need to do something, means we need to call any other method inside this to do that operations, then they will do it. So right now we are in the account record of Burlington Textile Co-op of America. So if I click on this edit option, okay, so whole form you can see edit right now in editable mode. So whether you change a value or not, but once you click on edit mode and try to save again, so it means that you are updating. It doesn't matter whether you change any value or not, but your mark it as a update operation. Why? Because you have make it in editable mode, and after that you have saved this record again, so it will called as update. So in that case it will be update method, update operations will get fired. But what will be when the before update will get fired and when the after update will fire. So the difference will be same. So suppose if I make hot, so and if I click save, so between the time between the clicking on save and between the data getting stored into database, like data getting updated into database, so the time between both these operations will be known as before update operations. And after update we already, like when the data will successfully stored inside that rating field, like inside our database. So why do we use this before? Why, what is the use of it? So we already saw that yesterday. Like if we go, so we have already saw that like before triggers are used to update or validate record values. Doesn't matter whether it is insert, update or delete. And after triggers are used to access records ID and modified date field, and apart from that to update any related S object records like this. If rating field is updated to hot, okay, rating field is updated to hot, then what I want that phone field will have a value of 1234. Okay, for that we have already used these triggers, right? So I think we have put it this condition already. Okay, rating and warm and all. So let's make another condition. So this is okay. So if industry field is updated to education, okay, if rating field is updated to education and is available, means this checkbox is available checkbox is true. Okay, is available checkbox is true, then update the phone field to 1234. Okay, so in this case we are going to write a trigger on before event. So let's go and make a logic on directly. Okay, so what I have to do, let's go and minimize it. Let's create a method. Okay, public static void, and let's make it update phone. Okay, so this is the method we have created. So I want to call this method. So what I have to do, I have to go inside this block, class name dot that method name which I want to copy. Okay, so if I go and I pass it, so inside it I want to pass trigger dot new. Okay, and this trigger dot new, what it will return, it will return list of account, list of account object which user is trying to update. So let's make it new account list. Let's give it name of new account list. So whatever the data, means whatever the user will insert, try to update whichever record, that record data will get stored into trigger.new, and we are sending these things into update phone. So this in update phone we are receiving it inside new contact list. So if I go and try to print it, so let's copy it and let's try to print it. Okay, what is our logic? If in industry field is updated to education, okay, and is available equals to true, then update the phone records to 1234. So we're getting the records inside it, right? So what we have to do, we have to run a for loop, for example, and we need to pass this list inside it. So what kind of data this list stores? Account. So we will create a account variable inside it. Okay, and we will pass new account list. So one by one data will get transferred inside that. So here what I can do, I can check if, so what is the percentage? Industry is updated to education. So how we can make it? Industry, sorry, industry is equals to education. Okay, so this is the first condition. The second condition is if is available equals to true. Okay, so let's go sec dot is available equals to true. Okay, if you are executing something into before update trigger event, then you don't have to call any update dml statement to update any field value. What you have to do, just have to take the reference of that field, for example SEC dot phone, and inside phone you have to pass the value which you want. That's it. So if I click save, so it's so class got saved successfully. So let's go now. What you have to do? We are checking if our SEC field, industry field is equal updated to education and available equals to true. So then phone will become 1234. So let's go and try to do the same for this. So for example, first of all, let's make it is available equals to true, and after that, let's go and make SCC. Which one? Let's go and make education. Where is education? Education. Okay, this is the education. So our both condition got satisfied. So now if I try to update this record, so our phone field which is empty right now, it should contain the value 1234. So if I go and try to save it, so you can see I didn't updated any value inside phone, but this value got automatically. Why? Because it satisfies both these conditions. But there is one error, like there is one issue in this logic. You know what? For example, if I go, if I go and if I try to click, if I try to create the account, for example, test account 2, okay, test account 2, and if I try to click available by default, and I try to make the industry field to education by default, okay, and if I try to save it. So in this case, you can see phone is empty. Why? Because it is inserted. So at this time, insert trigger get called, right? Insert is done. We haven't performed any update operation. So that's why the phone field doesn't get updated. Because right now, this particular part, right now, this particular update part doesn't get called yet. But if I want to call our this method, update phone. So for that, what we have to do? We have to value, not insert the red value, right? So for example, if I click, if I click, so now it becomes in editable mode. Okay. So now if I click on save, so you can, we already have available as a true and industry as a education, the same thing. Making any changes, we are not updating any value. But if I click save, so if I click on save, so you can see the phone field got updated. So don't you think that this logic is not up that mark, means this is not the correct logic, because this doesn't make sense. You are not updating any field, you are not updating any field value, and it is taking your previous value, and on the basis of that it's update. So for that, what we have to do? So if I go and tell you about the another context variable, so there is another context variable whose name is old and old map. So what old do? Old one, you send you the older version of the S object record. You got it? Through this context, we will be able to get the value which were earlier there in that particular record. So you can see that's why it is only available in update and delete. It is not available in insert, because in insert the user is already inserting. There will be no previous value, right? Correct, during the creation. So previous value can be using during update or delete. And apart from this, there is another context variable old map. So this thing returns the list of that S object, and this thing returns the map of ID of that object, map ID and account. So what I will do for that, let make the use of map, and let me show you in which way, in this way, how we are getting the values. So for that, what I have to do, I just have to pass trigger dot old map comma trigger dot new. So now what we are doing, we are passing the map of ID and account of order value. So let's go and check it practical way. So let's remove this all and let's do it from the beginning. So the data, so it will send us the map of ID and S object. So our S object is account. So how we'll able to receive it? It will be map of ID comma account, and we can make any name. So let's make it old account map and then comma. So I hope is this is clear to you, like what I have done just now. Okay, let's go and try to print the value, then you will be able to know this. So what we have done, we have a context variable which name is old map, which consists of the older data with the id and object key value pair map. And this trigger.new will consist the new data. So for example aman xcc1, and the value of industry during the creation I'm making as a biotechnology, and click on save. And now let's try to update the value. So for updating, I'm making from Aman SEC1 to SEC2, and industry field update from biotechnology to education, and try to save it. Okay, so now the logs got generated. So if I open it and if I click on debug only, so you can see now what we are getting. So you can see on line number 24, it was system debug. I'm printing the old account map, and in line number 25, I'm printing the new account list. So you can see in old account, we have the ID, means id is the key. You can see id is the key, it is in key value form. Id is the key equals account record detail, means this is a map of id and account type which we have learned. So inside record, if I go and see you, so right now you can see in old map the name is aman sec1, Aman SEC1, which was the older value. You can see we have updated the value to Aman SEC2. So Aman SEC2 will become in new list. So if I go and tell you, so you can see in the new list we are getting name equals to Aman SEC2. You got the difference. So for example, this is a new list. So on the new list we have to run a for each loop. Let's go and make it account SEC and new list. Okay. So what will happen, one by one, whatever the new data we have updated, it will get transferred inside this. And inside it, we have to check whether updated value is not equals to older value. So in this case, what we will do, first of all, we will check whether this old map value is null or not. So it should not be null. Okay. And the second one is a little bit tricky. I hope if you have saw that map session, then you must have remembered it. Now what I want to check, I want to check if SEC, whether SEC dot, um, just give me a minute. Okay, so I want to check whether SEC dot, so what this SEC contains, it considers data from newer list. Okay, newer list. So I want to check whether the SEC dot industry field is not equals to older value, means the data which is present in the older map. So if I go and see you, so the data in which format is present, it is format present in the key value pair. Key is the id and value is the whole account record. So what I have to do, I have to access the data from this map. So how we can do, map name, then dot get, this is the key value pair. So inside the get, what I will pass, so that I will be able to get the data of that particular record. Just think about it. Yeah, so acc dot id, this will be the key, right? Acc dot id, because id from the new account and the old account, it will be same. If you go and see whether you update this record number of time, it doesn't matter, the record id of this record will be same each and every time. So which, what we are going to do, we are able to accessing, we are trying to accessing the records detail. The records detail means this records value detail which is related to this particular id, this key. And what is this key? It is the account record in which the for loop is running right now. It is id of newly list. So if through this, what we are getting, okay, let me tell you, I will use the dot operator after this dot field value. I got it. So and industry value. So this is how the things works. Okay. So if and SEC equals to true. So in this condition, what is happening? If all these three conditions will get satisfied, then our thing will get executed. So now what we have to do, we just have to do update our field value. So what we have to do, we have to just use acc dot name, sorry, acc dot number, acc dot phone equals to value which I want to update. Okay, so now I want one more thing. If this condition is true, then update the phone value to this, else update phone to 5678. So now what I have to do? So you can see this is our if condition. We have done all this. So if this condition, if this, so we can if write else block and make it cc dot phone equals to 5678 like that. That's all. Now our logic is perfectly fine. Now it will work in the best practice scenario. So if I click on save, if I go and let's try to create a new one. Let's go. Let's make it trigger SEC, and let's not make it available by default. Okay, let's make it available by default, and let's make it education by default. Okay, and let's try to save it. So our account has been created a record with the all the field by default is available equals to true and industry equals to education. So it is done during the insertion. So if I click on edit mode, and if I try to save it right now without changing any field, because we already have industry equal to education and is available equals to check. So if I just click on save, so this trigger should run on update, but it will not update the phone value. Why? Because this time it is checking whether the newer value is not equals to older value. Means whenever a user will update the value of industry field to education, then get called, otherwise it will not get. So if I click on save, so you can see the another block run, this one else block. Why? Because our newer value was equal to older value. Industry has education and now also industry has education. That's why it runs the else block 5678. And if I go, suppose I go and try to create a new one. Okay, so let's make it account 5 and let's create it by default. Okay, this is done. So right now the phone field is not there. So now I'm going to update it. So for now I'm making it available is true and is education equals to sorry, industry equals to. Now what I have done, I am updating the industry field value to education. It was not there by default. I am updating it. So in that case you can see the value which is stored inside the phone field is 1234. So this is the use of before update. So guys, that's all for this video. In the next video we will see that how we can implement after update trigger. So till then guys, goodbye and have a great day.